Hello, fellow forgers. This is Bond Free from L World. It is late September 22, and I apologize for those of you that actually follow me, the few, the proud. I had a family situation about 6 weeks ago that involved my aging mother and father, and I'm turned 51 this month, and Dad's 81, Mom's 80, and Dad had a stroke, and so that's been interesting. So that is germane to why I'm bringing this up in the video, because I wanted to deal with part 2 of why I stay in the game. And one of the things that occurred to me about why I stay in the game, going through this kind of real life shit show that I've been dealing with, becoming quickly educated on many things, including the hospital systems in my state of Arizona, and financial assistance or non-financial assistance, those things that go along with all that, and care or medical coverage. I find myself realizing that the game becomes different things to me during different parts of different aspects, different seasons of my life. So in my case, I play the game a certain way. You may play the game another way in terms of your social standing, in terms of how you approach the world, right? Not social standing as in like society. I just mean how you are willing to maybe share something about yourself or your personal life, whether you feel comfortable doing that inside of the game, whether you don't. I've, for many, many decades, been a gamer where I don't necessarily let people know my true identity, but at the same time, I reveal enough about myself that I'm willing to be vulnerable, and in some cases, I message with other people that seem like they're on this kind of in the same wavelength, and there's been some real benefits from that. So I guess one of the things that keeps me in this game, even when I've been at probably the lowest point of my life personally over the last 6 weeks, still playing the game, which is about all the extra I have right now, just being an only child of a couple parents that didn't really prepare for the situation we found ourselves in. It's a bit of an escapism, right? So that's the first concept, is escapism. I think gaming in general is escapism. I look at that as a subheading of many categories, right? Like whether you pursue hot rodding or model building or building battle bots, or maybe all the above, and maybe gaming. I think escapism is, and how we choose to escape, is an important concept of how we execute our gameplay. And in this case, I've met people over the years. Well, I say people, I've met characters over the years that are just a picture on the screen down here, and you learn bits and pieces about them. And I will say, I've actually made some friends in real life as a result of that. I've actually had some visitors to my home. I have a bar in my house, my home bar, and I just go through my process of vetting people to see if I feel like they're trustworthy and things like that. But not everybody does that, and that's fine. I choose to play the game the way I want to. I'm looking for some genuine relationships, and actually what's interesting is that some of the people I've met recently, not met over the years, have recently given me some really great input on my situation when I shared it with them about, like, my dad having a stroke, and there being some resources out there to read and to respond to, and that have actually enriched my life. So I've met a number of people, not a huge number, but a small number, a handful of people that have really enriched my life. I mean, I met some other folks that I would call actual real life friends, where we exchanged, numbers, and we really got to know each other, and we've bolstered each other in doing some investing and other things in crypto and in various places of the market, and it's been a very positive thing. I really don't think for me there's been a downside of having a little bit of vulnerability in this escapism concept, right? I mean, I know I'm not talking much about the content of the game right now, just because this thing that keeps me in the game, this escapism, I also choose to pepper it with a bit of reality. I sometimes let people know who I am. Sometimes I go on Discord and I get to know people, and I like the sound of their voice, and I like how they're communicating about GBG or GVG or whatever the hell it is. And maybe we develop a bit of a rapport. And that's been good for me. That's the way I like to play. I like to play a little bit 1 foot in, 1 foot out of real life, not real life, that kind of thing. So depending on how you want to play, that's one thing that can, or multiple things that can keep you in this game, right? Is that maybe you don't want to be personal. Maybe this is entirely escapism for you. In which case, you can just be whoever you want to be, and that's cool. It's hard for me because, like, my approach to this game, sometimes what's difficult for me is that there are players that have just disappeared, that have just quit, that I've rallied with over years of guild, battlegrounds or guild versus guild. And one day they're just gone, and it's like, okay, I guess that person quit the game, and I don't know who they are, and that's okay. That's what comes along with it. But it's just, it's a little bit surreal to feel like you're developing a relationship in terms of the subset, of this escapist world that we all participate in here, at least in this particular game. It could be any game. And then you're like, hey, maybe that person will be there tomorrow, or you just assume maybe after some amount of years that person will be there the next day, and then they're not. And who knows? Maybe they died of COVID. Maybe their dad had a stroke like my dad, or maybe just real life got in the way. And I've had some great conversations and great chats with these people over the years, and then they're gone, and they're gone like forever. So that's interesting, right? I mean, but that's just the way I choose to play my version of the game. And that's what's so great about this game, is that there's a lot of ways to play it. And then, I had made some notes back in August, just before my personal life went to hell in a handbasket, in terms of like the way I was living it, which was, happy enough for me, but now, it's time for me to step up and be there as a caregiver for my parents. So working on that, but I'm still in the game because this is it's a slice of something that I can unplug. I can still connect with a few of the people that are still playing that I've known over the years, making some new friends, thankfully, to this meager YouTube channel. People that reach out to me and have been gracious and ask me questions or need some help, and I help them out or whatever. I mean, I'm no special anything really. I'm just fairly, dedicated to the game. So the thing that I like, the diversity of the game. I like the fact that we don't necessarily know who's behind that avatar, and it might be a person in another country and, of a different belief system or anything else. So the diversity is kind of cool. But I realize that I've seen actually guilds be divided over maybe political beliefs or other types of belief systems or things that leak in, from the outside world. And that's fine. And I mean, there's even some guilds that are named in such a way, or in their creed, they promote a certain belief system. And I think that's fine too. I like the fact that this game reflects, it's a reflection of real life. And if you don't want to be a part of that, or maybe you do want to choose those sides, you can do that. It's just a little ecosystem on its own. So anyway, enough of that. I wanted to also rant a bit about where when I see a game where I've played it for a number of years, I played this other game for a while, like going way back, probably like 05 or whatever, called KOC, Kingdoms of Camelot. And it was a certain thing at the time. It was a Facebook game, and it was just all very fresh at the time. And there was a fighting aspect to it that was really cool. And it was a little bit GVG-ish, like we had to be online and, at the same time with our clan and all that stuff. Anyway, over time, that game evolved. And in my opinion, it devolved. It changed into something else. The devs decided to make changes. The world changes, right? It doesn't always stay the same. Monetization models change, and the devs, maybe managers change within a company like Inno. Maybe directives change. Maybe just whatever. Things are always shifting. And sometimes that just finally at some point manifests itself in terms of how the gameplay is happening. So in the case of KOC, it went from something that was really appealing to me. It eventually just gradually evolved or devolved into something that I didn't want to have anything to do with. It became a completely different game over time. So I jumped out and quit playing. And the thing that is a little bit sad for me is that I'm seeing, even getting through COVID, right? How strenuous and crazy was that? I saw less players bail during COVID or, go absent, if you will, than I have in probably the last 6 months. And at least in my own world, right? People that I have been around for many years, people that I talk to pretty regularly on messaging, things like that, and they're just gone. Like one day they're just like, I'm leaving the game. Maybe they don't even say they're leaving the game. They just go away. And that is kind of bugging me, and I'm staying in it to the degree that it brings me some joy. But I'll tell you the last change, or the testing that's going on with Inno and the mobile piece of this is a bit of a challenge for me. It's more than a bit of a challenge. It's making me question how much longer I want to stay in the game, right? Like, because one of the things that appealed to me about this game when I started playing it was that I could play it on browser and mobile. And I could log in and just have continuity. And, there's some variable features that shift a little bit between, browser and mobile. Well, especially like I'm running a plugin over here. I love Forge Commander. And just a bit of a tidbit on that. I was really hoping that Forge Commander would come back online. I recorded a video at least 6 weeks ago, maybe more, just before my personal situation shifted a bit. And I was recording about how I use Forge Commander and the different features it has and some of the benefits of it. And then it went offline because, Inno makes changes to their API, if you will, the way that the browser processes data and the way that these plugins, such as Forge Commander, and there's others out there, interact with the system. And as long as these plugins, these utilities, these tools don't break Inno's EULA, then we're welcome to use them, and they don't punish the players. My experience has been they don't. Inno doesn't punish a player for using a utility. Unless it's a script, that's a whole different story. But I think we've kind of come and gone from that at this point. The utility in this case, meets the requirements or the limitations of Inno, and that's why it breaks sometimes, and then it comes back online a little while later. So anyway, I'm excited to be making this video pretty much the next day, I think, after Forge Commander came back online, but it's been offline for like almost 2 months, which is kind of sucks. That's the longest amount of time I think it's ever been offline, at least since I've been using it. So anyway, that's just an aside for those of you that have stuck with the video this long to even give a crap about my ramblings. So back to maybe middle managers and devs killing games, which is where it was kind of at before. So the thing that's really pissing me off right now with this game is that I play a lot on iOS, right? So right now, of course, I'm recording on the browser version. They have not jacked with the browser version in terms of this video monetization thing they're doing. And if you only play on browser, you may be blissfully ignorant and unaware that those of us that also play on mobile, i.e. iOS or Android, they have randomly, Inno has randomly started introducing watch this video basically to do certain things. So let me give you an example. So like the castle system, this particular benefit right here, if I were to do this, if I were the lucky one of the lucky ones chosen in their quote random testing to decide if we will all put up with watching videos to get a certain benefit from the game, then this would be, I would have to watch a video, which isn't just a small amount of time. It's like irritatingly long, and timers and clocks, and basically trying to pimp whatever next thing they really want us to play versus, kind of perhaps, end of lifing this game or just hacking the shit out of it, right? Gutting it. So I can click collect here. That's great. If I were on iOS, I would have to click watch video in order to have this feature, which I refuse to do. I mean, I've spent thousands of dollars on this game, and yet the accounts that I've spent the most on over time, in terms of like just playing in different worlds and everything else, there's just a consistency to the fact that like my main account here, my Bond Free account, is like I've spent thousands, and I am plagued with being rewarded for that by having to watch videos to collect incidents around in here. Every little incident has like a little play button, etc. So if you know what I'm talking about, like, it's old news. But if you don't, is, testing, quote, randomly testing our, subsets of players, or us in general as players that play this game, to see what we're willing to put up with. How far can they push us to watch a video in order to get that, little piece of candy out of the Pez dispenser. And it just irritates the shit out of me. And like, it made me want to quit the game as soon as it happened. But right now I'm just voting with my wallet. I'm not buying anything. I'm not spending any diamonds. I'm not watching any of their stupid videos, which means I cannot. So, this was all very planned, right? Like AIDAL. Oh, wow, what a great feature. This was so cool for, when it was free, or if, it didn't cost me watching a video. So if I ate all here in my browser, I'm fine. But I guarantee you, like, the video thing is probably coming to the browser next, but on iOS or on Android, if I want to aid all and they happen to choose me to be like in their subset of like random, semi not random, whatever, accounts that they just decided, hey, let's make this account watch videos and see what happens, right? We'll put them in the little cage, put this player in the cage, and see if they click on the videos to get their little reward, to be able to aid all. I flagrantly refuse to do that, and it's just, I get really pissy about it, which I am right now. So it just drives me in a sense to play more on the browser, and at the same time also resent the game and the direction it's going, right? Because they keep inventing ways. It's like, oh, they have this thing. Oh, well, now we have a subscription model, right? Like now there's this thing over here where Forge Plus. So now there's that. And I understand they need to monetize. I mean, I've been participating in the money model for 7 years or more, maybe, like with the game where I'm like buying diamonds and I do the thing, and I guess it's just not enough because now, they've really kind of like, it feels like subversion to me, like where they introduce a feature, like, oh, that's kind of cool, but then they make it more difficult and more, like inefficient in the game features. Now it's like, okay, we're gonna kind of kick you in the shin, break your ankles because you had this feature, but now not really. We were just kind of screwing around with you, and now we're gonna give you all these other things that you need to do, and watch these ads, download this other game, watch it, get through it. And it sucks because if you actually accidentally click on, say there's a video with an incident, you click on it on your app, it like just takes over. Like I literally have to quit the process on my iPad and just kill it in order to get back to the game. Like, oh man, I made a mistake, right? Like, sorry, I did not mean to click the play video button to get an incident. I mean, seriously, to watch a video and be a full takeover on your app just to get one incident. It's total dog shit. So anyway, that's my 18 cents on that, because I kind of went on a rant there. But at the same time, this game has meaning to me. It matters to me personally because I have a huge money and time investment in this, and relational investment. There's players I want to be here for that are growing, that are like, hey, can you help me with this? I'm like, yeah, I can help you with that. And there's aspects of the game that are keeping me sane in a way, right? Like, I mean, it's a little bit neurotic, but it's consistent, and I can play this game the way I want to play it. No one has to, no one can really, like, this is my little space where I don't really have to answer to anyone. I can just jump in and play it the way I want to play it. And that's significant to me. I think that's something. It's just a little piece of the universe that I/we can control, that is yours. It's mine. And even with my beefs with Inno right now and them screwing around with the money model, I still can navigate out of that by playing on the browser version. So yeah, I play less now, because I don't always want to sit my ass in front of a browser and, lug around my laptop or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, I guess I understand why they're doing it, but to me, it signals the potential beginning of the end in terms of maybe where they're going in the game. Maybe a beginning of the end for the old guard. People like me, they're like, iPenguin Pat, like, who inspired me with his YouTube technicals, inspired me to like start a channel for the more of like the pragmatic, scrappy kind of, direction, right? Like, I want to be accessible. I want to say like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And like, that's different than the approach he took. But now he's like, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm moving on to this other stuff. And I don't blame him. Like, I'm totally get it. Like, he got so frustrated based on the videos I watched. It's not like, I know him personally, but I follow iPenguin's stuff, and he makes great videos, and his technicals are amazing, and his spreadsheet of madness is amazing. And it's like, I just can't, I can't like argue about like moving on to the next thing, right? And I can't remember the next thing he moved on to, but he did move on to another thing. So that's that. So anyway, this video is probably more of a rant, personal kind of thing. I will throw in something specific here at the end for those of you that actually stayed around this long. When you move into AF, right? So you go from the giant, massive, cavernous shit show that is OF, and you get into AF, you're gonna have like these additional ports, right? You have the Arctic Harbor, and then you have this other stuff. You have this other special resource, based on your era and stuff. But then when you get into Mars, you've got the spaceport. And somebody had made a comment about like, what's the best way to set up a spaceport, right? So every era has their own it's kind of like same but different situation with this colony. And the main question becomes life support. I'm not a big life support fan. In fact, I think life support's stupid, because what they're doing is they're trying to give you, if you balance this colony with life support in addition to population, then it means you have less resource buildings. It means you can build less goods, which, that's just stupid. I don't want you to take goods away from me. I need to produce tons of goods. So the penalty for producing tons of goods is it just costs way more to make them, right? So if I don't have if I don't have a lot of life support, then I pay more to produce each round of goods, if you will, right? So I got to spend 2.1 million, supplies, and then coins to build, 40 of the red algae, right? But yeah, so what? I'm in Space Age Jupiter Moon. I mean, it's the same kind of contextual situation if you're in Space Age Mars, right? And then after that, you have Sob and so forth. So if I do that, I pay the penalty, right? I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of juice, right? But at the same time, I've been buffing my supply production, so like I don't care, And really, the only incentive to not have life support is that you don't get a discount. It's a goods cost. I can't show it with my mouse here, but if you look just below here where it says goods cost discount 0%, means I don't get a discount. It just means I pay a lot more for making goods. It's just a penalty of supplies and and coins. So like, who cares if you're making tons of supplies? Like, you just run your life support down to nothing. Don't even build life support buildings. It's just a waste. It's just like a waste of space, and it's going to take away from your ability to build more goods. So I have to build enough, in a sense, housing, right, to have enough population to support as many goods farms as I can put on the map, right? So obviously, the less roads you need to do, the more efficient you can make your roads, just like in a regular city, and you just set it up the way you want. So I've gotten a little bit lazy. I'm not saying this is like the best setup or whatever, but generally speaking, about 10 to 11 goods buildings is where you want to be with any settlement. So you build enough of the population buildings to support 10 to 11 goods buildings. And then you just say fuck all to, like life support, because that's just stupid. That's just like a distraction. And just pay the penalty, like make enough goods. And if you don't have enough goods, start buffing your goods. Like, build put buildings in your town that help you buff your supply production. Sorry, I sometimes swap goods and supplies. But buff your supply production, and you can do that with, various buildings. But one of the ones I like, I was going to find it here. Hang on a sec. I used it a lot over time, like not so much anymore because I have so much, but like I would build various buff building, like percentage wise. Oh, it'll help. Like Haunted Tower, right? 9% supply collection in that era, right? So if I just put this down, it just adds 9% to all my supply collections not from special buildings, but from production buildings. So that's something to be aware of. But, those can help buff. And then if you go into the, obviously the tavern shop, you can, when you collect, just, buff your supply boost every time if you want to increase that. So there's a lot of ways to buff your supply production. I've talked about in past videos, but I think this is when it really starts to matter, right? Is when you get into SAM and higher, you really want to have a major supply of supplies. We don't worry about coins. I mean, coins those just happen. I don't think we need to buff coins, but supplies for sure. So you have that for your research, and you have that for spending on your goods production, because from SAM higher, if you're going to run maximum supply production, you need to have, maximum goods production, you need to have a lot of supplies to pay the penalty, if you will, for not balancing it with life support. Now, this is my way of playing. It's more of a, aggressive way to just solve one problem versus the other. But I would rather, have more at the end of it, have more goods production every time we go out and reset those clocks than I would. Okay, so this is cool. Like, no resources available, right? So basically I ran out of, what is it? This thing. I gotta not click that because I'm spending diamonds now. The special resource, whatever the hell it is in this era. And so now I need to go mine. So now I need to go to the compass, the map, and I gotta mine the special resource, which, this is pretty common if you have gotten to Space Age Mars or after. And I guess my internet's going to crash now, or I'm going to have to switch over to Starlink because Cox blows up about this time of night every night. Okay, let's try that again. Let's go here. There we go. So now I just have to go and collect these. Usually I get ahead on this stuff, but because my personal life has been a little bit over-provisioned lately, to say the least, I haven't been checking as much on the map. And I usually only, unknown DNA, that's the resource. I usually only do the larger sites. So, there's just like any of the other eras. There's two special resource kind of locations. There's the one that has the fatties, like these bigger ones. And then if you click on this and you go to the other one, there's these tiny ones. Like I don't have the time to deal with that shit. So I just go to the big ones. And, i.e. I'm out of the special resource, but that's just the scrappy way I play sometimes. So now I'm going to reset those and do that thing. And then they're going to refill the coffers, and then I can build again. So, if it gets to be too much of a waiting game to build more goods, I'll generally hold off on resetting these for like 3 or 4 days, and then make sure I go and mine the resource for 3 or 4 days, and then I'll build a backlog of the special good, and all is well again. So I just collected some stuff, so I'll just use as much. Looks like I'm good. So yeah. So anyway, that's that, and yeah. So thanks for watching, and I'm sorry for the rambling mess that this was, but yeah. If you have any comments or thoughts, or just tell me to go away and stop making these videos, I'm cool with that too, man. But thanks for watching. I mean, if you're digging it, subscribe and ask me if you want any specific help with anything. And I'm in Langendorn. That's my mainstay, and that's what I got. So happy forging, and I'll talk to you whenever.